Welcome to the Passionpreneur Experience, where I examine the thoughts, energy, and strategy a side hustler needs to grow their entrepreneurial dreams, all while they work their corporate 9-to-5 day job. I'm your host, Bridget Cobb. Now let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Passionpreneur Experience. And I hope everybody's doing well out there. We are in the midst of lockdown. I'm located here in Seattle, as you guys know, and things in Seattle have been pretty quiet due to the COVID-19 virus. So we were a bit of an epicenter for the United States. So restaurants and shops, my day job locked down quite a while ago. Been working from home for a couple of weeks, and things tend to get a little bit more serious each day. So we're just doing our part, staying home, working smart, and I hope you guys are all being safe out there as well. And as we go through this as a community and as passionpreneurs, I wanted to make some of the episodes that come up in the future here relevant, and topical to what's going on now, and what we might be facing as passionpreneurs, as entrepreneurs, balancing that full-time and 9-to-5 and your own business. And in some cases, you may be full-time entrepreneur as well. So I want to take a look at a couple of different angles, how you can stay interested in your business, how you can stay engaged, and you can make sure your customers do the same. So one of the things I have been thinking about as I've been, on lockdown here in Seattle, at home a little bit more than usual, which is giving me a little bit more time than usual to think about my business and what it is I want to put out there. And that really got me thinking about experimentation and how important that is to us as entrepreneurs. And that's really what I want to talk about today, is how to embrace experimentation in this time in our business, or any time really, and how to implement it in your own business. So let's take a look at experimentation and what it means. In a lot of cases, we can think of experimentation as being very radical. It doesn't need to be radical. It can be, though, if you want it to be. Really, I find experimentation is at the heart of creativity and curiosity. So when I can feel free to experiment, when I can expand my borders a little bit, I feel like I get a lot more creative energy, creative juices flowing that I can push out to my customers and that I can release out. I think experimentation allows you to think a little bit more freely and without limits. Sometimes without being too embedded in reality. So you might be able to reach past those realms of reality and really push the boundaries for yourself. And that could come in actually delivering a product or just being experimental in thought. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So what does that look like to start getting a bit more experimental in your business? Well, when I start to think about how I'd like to challenge my current boundaries or current offerings, I like to first flesh out best case scenarios. What I mean by that is I allow myself to purely examine the best possible outcome for that experiment. What that could mean for me as a business owner, for my customer, my client, for the value that I'm able to put out there. So I'm really focusing on the best possible outcome or best case scenarios for implementing that big idea or that experimental idea. That includes thinking about, who might be buying that? How are they benefiting from it? What's it going to bring to them? So essentially focusing on the best case scenario and the benefits of experimenting, it just allows me to open up that creative process. And it's very tempting to get caught up in instantly shutting an idea down, thinking of the worst case scenario, thinking of pitfalls or, but I know that's not really possible, because of X situation or how much that's going to cost. So I encourage you to, for the sake of experimenting, for the sake of letting the creative process flow easily, to kind of put those thoughts aside for now and really turn on a positive tap in your mind. Let that best case scenario flow out. And that's the best case scenario for the entire idea, including, you might think about expanding outside of your current customer base. You might think about developing a new process or a new product. So this is all part of the creative process, and it kickstarts the experimental process. So why? Why bring experimentation into your business? Well, first of all, I think it allows you to be brave. And that's not something that I think can come easily sometimes, especially in an entrepreneurial venture where, let's say, you're finding you're quite comfortable in the space, in the place that you've built. Maybe that's the processes that you have in place, the revenue that you're earning, all of that. You've found comfort there. So introducing experimentation could sound unnecessarily risky. It could sound scary. You don't want to mess with the status quo. But allowing that process to take place opens up this new brave spot in your head, in your heart, and it's going to encourage you to dig a little deeper and start to get really creative and innovative. And innovation is really about improving, amplifying, a space that already exists when you're out there. And taking a process that maybe it does work, maybe it works just fine, but by tweaking and twisting and digging a little bit deeper, you find that there's a whole new level of efficiency, or there's a whole new way to reduce waste, to reduce the amount of effort you need to put in to get the same amount of output. So getting into an experimental state of mind is going to bring out that innovative side in yourself, to bring out that creative side, as I've already said. It also allows your customers to do the same thing. And what do I mean by that? Well, when you experiment, when you innovate on behalf of your customers, your clients, you open up more opportunity to them. So similarly, they may be used to getting the same types of services or products from you and have become comfortable themselves. And I mean, let's say if you are a business that offers a service, there may be ways for you to help your customers push the envelope. And, that starts with you being experimental and offering new ways of thinking, new products, new ideas out there. And that has a trickle-on effect. That has a domino effect to your customers. So now they get new opportunity because they're following on from your experimentation. They're taking it up. They're looking into it. And who knows what that opens up for them. So this is a beautiful service that you offer your clients. When you experiment, they reap the benefits. It allows them to also experiment. And this means you can learn definitely more about your current customer. It also opens up the opportunity to find new customers. So again, you've got that comfortable current customer base. And when you start to experiment and look a little bit outside the lines, you may find another section or another sect of customers that are just there. They were waiting for that next level. or that next iteration that you were coming out with to really seek and understand what you do and come on board. So it's a beautiful way to not only continually connect with your current client base, but open up doors to finding new ones. Now, when should you introduce experimentation into your business? Well, the beautiful thing is that you can do this anytime. You can do this whether we are in the midst of crisis, as we are right now, or if you are in a more mature stage of your business where things are kind of leveling out. And the thing with experimentation is that you get to choose the intensity with which you experiment. So you don't have to, experimenting doesn't mean that you release some totally off the wall, completely different product that you never even thought about doing before. And that's the only thing that you can do to experiment. You have a lot of control over, like I said, the intensity, which means you could experiment, sure, with a new product or a new service. You could also experiment with how your business runs internally. Maybe you start your team meeting a little bit differently. You start to experiment with building your company culture or defining it more. Maybe it comes down to some of your SOPs, your standard operating procedures, and how you go about doing business. You might want to experiment with how you record keep. You're thinking, well, I have a system, but I'm finding that it's not always the most efficient system. There's probably more I could do here. You can experiment with that. So experimentation runs across your business. That's externally, outwardly facing with products or services that you offer to your customers, and that's inwardly facing internally with how you run your business, how you show up, your company culture. All of that is available for experimentation. So, I want you to kind of think about that in a more holistic view. And when you do that, you find that, experimentation doesn't have to be earth-shattering. It doesn't mean I'm completely overhauling my marketing, for instance, or that I am really changing up my core product. It can be subtle. You can control the length of how long you do an experiment or the intensity in which you attack that. So there's a lot of room for control here and for caution if you need it. That's the decision that you make based on your own circumstances in your own business. All right, so how do we go about deciding where we're going to experiment or how that's going to show up for us in our businesses? And as I've already kind of said, this is where you get an opportunity to review your own practices, your own standard operating procedures within your business, your own products, your own services, your own culture. You're doing a bit of a systematic approach here, if you'd like, where you could pick a product or you could pick a category. Let's say you're going to focus on products and you're going to do a bit of an inventory there to see where am I feeling like it's a little bit dry or a little bit stale? Where do I feel like I could take a little bit of risk here and try something new? Maybe it's your operations or your marketing. And to say, you know what, I've been doing the same type of marketing for a long time. I want to run a small experiment with branching out in a different social platform. And I'm going to run it for 6 weeks. And I'm going to be very conscious I'm going to maybe use a very specific email landing page. I'm going to create a special landing page so I know any leads that I get come from that. And that's going to be my experiment. All right, so you could do a systematic approach and look across each category of your business one by one, or you could go the squeaky wheel approach, which is, where do I see the biggest issue in my business? Do I have a flatlining product? Maybe I have a few products that I offer, and there's one that's just, it's really not doing anything amazing. it's flatlined a bit. Is there an opportunity to experiment there? Maybe you've got some common FAQs or frequently asked questions that come into your business, and you want to try experimenting there with getting those answered a little bit better or a little bit more quickly. You could start with something like that. You could run surveys. You see it all the time, guys, in social media platforms. So even like the Passionpreneur Experience, my online community, you could go in there and start asking for feedback and say, I see great posts where they say, look, audience, here's a big question that comes up in my business. And they may feel like that Facebook group fits their target demographic. So they ask open questions, and it's a beautiful way to kind of get a temperature check across potential customers. So there's a lot of great ways where you can kind of look across your business and see, where does experimentation make sense for you, where you are in your business, what you do or what you offer, and then also paying attention to, your level of risk, your level of especially as a passionpreneur, how much time do you have to dedicate? I know right now, guys, we're in a tricky time where we may have our day jobs running full time, which we may now be working from home where we wouldn't normally be. We've still got our passion projects or our own businesses that we're running on the side. On top of this, a lot of people have their kids now home full time because schools are canceled. There's a lot going on, and I know this could be a time where a lot of people would say, heck no, the last thing I want to do is run an experiment. I've got no time. But wouldn't it be interesting if some of your experimentation was in reduction? So, maybe you've concentrated on 4 or 5 different social platforms. Maybe this is the time to say, I'm going to experiment with seeing what it looks like to reduce. I'm actually going to systematically go through my social platforms and test them each to see what kind of response. And I may get to learn out of that, that social media platform, it's not engaging for me. I don't need to be there, and I don't need to use my time in that platform anymore. So there's a real opportunity. Experimentation is not all about adding more. It can be about reduction or elimination in form of experimentation. So be open to that and what that looks like. You know your business, you know how much time you have, what your family situation is at the moment, how you feel, if you feel well, if you feel healthy and fit, or you're feeling worn down, stressed, unwell. Take all of this into account and take a look across your business and see where it makes sense for you. So, quick episode. I just want you to be thinking about different ways to stay engaged and interact with your business and what you've got going on. And I think experimentation is a really fun way to do that. And like I said, I hope you can find beautiful ways, if not to expand, to actually reduce your workload and take some stress off your plate. That's all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining me on the Passionpreneur Experience today. If you have any suggestions for topics, I would love for you to give me a shout. You can follow me on Instagram at Bridget Cobb Coaching. Send me a message, or you can join the Passionpreneur Experience Facebook community. I'd love to see you in there. I do want to say, stay safe. Please work from home. If it's available to you, make every effort to isolate and to social distance. And that includes with family and friends. And I know it's hard. It's certainly been hard for me, guys. I am so super social, so super wanting to be out and about and amongst people. But I know this is the right thing to do, just like you. So we're all doing our part, and we'll all stay safe. So I look forward to it. I'll see you guys here next week on the Passionpreneur Experience. Take care, guys. Are you building your side hustle business all on your own? Well, you don't have to. Engaging with and being accountable to a supportive community will increase your productivity and keep you on track. Join my private Facebook community, the Passionpreneur Experience, and connect with like-minded side hustlers just like you. Head to the show notes now for a link to the group and start building the business of your dreams.